Hi, welcome to the series of videos on ANS pharmacology. Today we will be talking about neural transmission in the autonomic nervous system. In the last video, I discussed why we need two opposite systems in order to have a tighter control on homeostasis. In today's video, we will be talking about neural transmissions in these systems so we can have an understanding of how to alter these systems in order to have a beneficial effect on various diseases. We'll go through few anatomic differences between the parasympathetic and the sympathetic system. The parasympathetic nervous system arises from the cranial and sacral components of the central nervous system, whereas the sympathetic nervous system arises from the thoracolumbar system. The neurons are divided into a preganglionic neuron and a postganglionic neuron. The preganglionic neuron starts from the CNS to the ganglion, and from the ganglion to the end organ we have the postganglionic nerve. Now, we are more interested in what happens in the synaptic regions because our various drug targets act on these synapses. In the parasympathetic nervous system, the preganglionic nerve and the postganglionic nerve, they release acetylcholine as the neurotransmitter. Of course, there are various different receptors which are going to mediate the action. We will talk about receptors in the next video. In the sympathetic nervous system, all preganglionic nerve fibers release acetylcholine. But what happens in the postganglionic neuron has three different possibilities. In the first possibility, which is the most common one, noradrenaline is the neurotransmitter that is released in the end organs. A few end organs receive acetylcholine, thermoregulatory sweat glands. Now, we shouldn't think that acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter that is solely responsible with the parasympathetic nervous system. We do have postganglionic neurons which release acetylcholine, and that's because the parasympathetic and the sympathetic differentiation is based on anatomy and not based on which neurotransmitter is released or which function is produced by which nerves. The last one is when few of the neurons are directly stimulating the adrenal glands which secretes epinephrine. This forms a part of the neurohumoral reflex responses because, as you can see, the nerve response is connected with the humoral output. Now, as I said, we are bothered about the synaptic regions because they are potential targets. We can target neurotransmitter synthesis, storage, release, the termination of action of these neurotransmitters, and their receptor regulation. Now, coming to cholinergic transmission, we have here a preganglionic neuron and a postganglionic neuron. This is just to give a brief overview. The short story is that vesicles which are filled with acetylcholine and co-transmitters like ATP and other co-transmitters get released into the synapse which act on the postsynaptic neurons receptors and the action gets propagated. Longer story is that how acetylcholine gets synthesized and how it gets released and what are the various ways we can target these in order to reduce the action or increase the action respectively. First, choline gets into the nerve through a choline transporter, and acetyl-CoA is produced from the mitochondria which are rich in the nerve endings. Now, choline and acetyl-CoA combines to form acetylcholine by the presence of the enzyme choline acetylase transferase. Now, acetylcholine is packed into vesicles by various membrane associated proteins, the most common of which is vesicle associated transmitters. Now, inside the vesicle, they are complexed with vesicular peptidoglycan. There are membrane proteins called the vesicle associated membrane proteins which interact with SNAPs, which are synaptosomal nerve associated proteins, and this interaction lets the vesicle coalesce with the membrane in order to release acetylcholine which is inside the vesicles. And for this interaction, calcium is required, and calcium enters the nerve when an action potential is triggered when an action potential triggers N-type calcium transporters. Now, acetylcholine is released into the postsynaptic region, and the peptidoglycans are lysed, and acetylcholine is free to act on the receptors on the postsynaptic neuron. Now, there are various ways in which certain pharmacological targets can act. The first of which is blocking choline transporter by hemicolonium, blocking acetylcholine entry into the vesicles by vesamicol, and last, we can block the interaction between VAMs and SNAPs by botulinum toxin. Now, as you can understand that acetylcholine is released as the transmitter in the preganglionic fibers of both the sympathetic and parasympathetic neurons. This is not a good clinical objective to block acetylcholine release. It's not a very productive way of dealing with diseases. And that's why we see that hemicolonium and vesamicol are not used clinically. They are used only in research. Botulinum toxin, of course, is used in certain cases of muscle paralysis and of course in cosmetic surgery, but you should understand that it's a local injection. Given systemically, it's one of the most dangerous toxin known to humankind. Now, in the synaptic cleft, the released acetylcholine acts on the receptors and produces action. Its action is terminated by acetylcholinesterases, which are bound on the membrane. Acetylcholine is broken down back into acetyl-CoA and choline. Now, this released acetyl-CoA and choline can further be taken back and can be processed into acetylcholine. But this enzyme is very important in terminating the drug action. Now, coming to adrenergic transmission, it's going to be similar. Now, we have tyrosine as the starting product. Tyrosine gets converted to DOPA, then into dopamine and norepinephrine. Norepinephrine gets packed into vesicles, and similarly, when an action potential reaches the terminal, calcium influx results in fusion of the vesicle and release of norepinephrine. Now, norepinephrine does gets metabolized by enzymes like COMT, but that is not the major way how norepinephrine's action gets terminated. Norepinephrine is, few of norepinephrine gets diffused, and most of norepinephrine is reuptaked by a receptor associated transporter called norepinephrine transporter. It binds to norepinephrine and pushes norepinephrine back into the preganglionic neuron. Now, these are the various drug targets. Metyrosine blocks the conversion of tyrosine to DOPA. Thereby, it's one of the drugs that are being used in extreme case of pheochromocytoma. Reserpine, one of the older antihypertensive drugs, blocks norepinephrine's entry into vesicles and therefore can result in norepinephrine depletion, and over a period of time, norepinephrine will not be available to be released. Cocaine and tricyclic antidepressants block the norepinephrine transporter. Therefore, over a long period of time, they can result in receptor regulation, changes in receptor regulation in the postsynaptic membrane. And we have guanethidine and bretylium, which can block the vesicular fusion and release of norepinephrine. So, this is a brief review on the neuronal transmission that is seen in autonomic nervous system. In the next video, we will talk about cholinergic receptors and various pharmacological substances that can trigger useful responses in the cholinergic system. At the end of the series, I will be releasing written notes, and I will also work out some problems from USMLE and maybe even NEET. So please subscribe and like the video. If you have any useful comments, please share with us. And if you have any suggestion for me, please leave them in the comments. Thank you.